Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. We offer our salutations to Ramana, who shines as the Self in all beings. We begin today's Satsang with a prayer by Srimati Sapna and the chanting of the Muktaka trayam.
दक्षिणामूर्ति सारंभां शंकराचार्य मध्यमां रमणाचार्य पर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णु
Sorry, Ujwal. Please restart from the beginning.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. We begin with a prayer by Srimati Sapna Ganesh.
दक्षिणामूर्ति सारंभां शंकराचार्य मध्यमां रमणाचार्य पर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये आङ्गिकं भुवनं यस्य वाचिकं सर्ववाङ्मयम् आहार्यं चन्द्रतारादि तं नमः सात्विकं शिवम् ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय. Namo Ramana to everyone.
एकमक्षरं हृदि निरन्तरं भासते स्वयं लिख्यते कथं हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् ह्यहमहमिति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वता मज्जता वा पवनचलनरोधात् आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम् देहं मृण्मयवज्जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तदभावसुप्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भावतः कोऽहं भावयुतः कुतो वरधिया दृष्ट्वात्मनिष्ठात्मना सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयम् सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयम्. नमो रमण.
Namo Ramana. We continue the satsang with the chanting of a few verses from Upadesa Saram, which will be done by Kumari Uma Shripati.
नमो रमण.
वायुरोधना लीयते मना जालपक्षिवद्रोदसाधनम् चित्तवायवश्चित्क्रियायुताः शाखयोर्द्वयी शक्तिमूलका लयविनाशने उभयरोदने लयगतं पुनर्भवति नोऽमृतम् प्राणबन्धना लीनमानसम् एकचिन्तना नाशमेत्यद नष्टमानसो उत्कृष्टयोगिन कृत्यमस्ति किं स्वस्तितिं यत दृश्यवारितं चित्तमात्मना चित्वदर्शनं तत्त्वदर्शनं मानसं तु किं मार्गणे कृते नैव मानसं मार्ग आर्जवात् वृत्तयस्त्वहं वृत्तिमाश्रिताः वृत्तयो मनो विद्यहं मना अहमयं कुतो भवति चिन्वत ऐपतत्यहं निजविचारणम् अहमिनाशभाज्यहमहं तया स्फुरति हृत्स्वयं परमपूर्णसत्. नमो रमण.
Namo Ramana. In this part of the satsang, we present a few gems from the Ramananjali Sangeetam. We have the offering of Ramananjali Sangeetam by Srimati V. Radha, followed by a presentation by Pratibha Sundaresh, followed by a presentation by Savitri Krishnan and Jaisriram Krishnan, and Kumari Revathi Shankar.
Namo Ramana to all. Today is selected a song written by Sri Ramanatha Brahmachari and the music is by Sri L. Krishnan. அருணை ரமணன் செல்கின்றான் தன்னையே வலம் வருகின்றான் அருணை ரமணன் செல்கின்றான் தன்னையே வலம் வருகின்றான் பூமி ரதத்தின் இதயமாக விளங்கும் அருணேசன் தான் பூமி ரதத்தின் இதயமாக விளங்கும் அருணேசன் தான் அனைத்துயிர் உள்ள அறிவன்பாக பொங்கும் ரமணேசன் கான் அனைத்துயிர் உள்ள அறிவன்பாக பொங்கும் ரமணேசன் கான் அருணை ரமணன் செல்கின்றான் தன்னையே வலம் வருகின்றான் அருணை ரமணன் செல்கின்றான் தன்னையே வலம் வருகின்றான் பன்னூறாயிரம் அடியார் அருணாச்சலத்தை வலம் வருகின்றார் பன்னூறாயிரம் அடியார் அருணாச்சலத்தை வலம் வருகின்றார் அவர் இதயமாக ஒளிரும் ரமணன் தன்னையே வலம் வருகின்றான் அவர் இதயமாக ஒளிரும் ரமணன் தன்னையே வலம் வருகின்றான் அருணை ரமணன் செல்கின்றான் தன்னையே வலம் வருகின்றான். சல 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 அடியார் காலடி ஓசையாராய் ஓடுதே. சல 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 அடியார் காலடி ஓசையாராய் ஓடுதே. விமல ரமணனின் ஒளிமேனி மீது அபிஷேகமாக பொழிகிறதே. விமல ரமணனின் ஒளிமேனி மீது அபிஷேகமாக பொழிகிறதே. அருணை ரமணன் செல்கின்றான், தன்னையே வலம் வருகின்றான். அருணை ரமணன் செல்கின்றான், தன்னையே வலம் வருகின்றான். பறவைகள் பாமலர் பாடி செடியும் கொடியும் பூமலர் தூவுதே. பறவைகள் பாமலர் பாடி செடியும் கொடியும் பூமலர் தூவுதே. மரங்களும் சாமரும் வீசியதே, சூரிய தீபம் ஒளிர்கிறதே. மரங்களும் சாமரும் வீசியதே, சூரிய தீபம் ஒளிர்கிறதே. அருணை ரமணன் செல்கின்றான், தன்னையே வலம் வருகின்றான். அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ கோஷம் எங்கும் ஒலிக்குதே. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ கோஷம் எங்கும் ஒலிக்குதே. மரணம் நீங்கும் தருணம் இதுவே, மானிட ஜன்மம் பலிக்குதே. மரணம் நீங்கும் தருணம் இதுவே, மானிட ஜன்மம் பலிக்குதே. அருணை ரமணன் செல்கின்றான், தன்னையே வலம் வருகின்றான். அருணை ரமணன் செல்கின்றான், தன்னையே வலம் வருகின்றான். அருணை ரமணன் செல்கின்றான், தன்னையே வலம் வருகின்றான். தன்னையே வலம் வருகின்றான், தன்னையே வலம் வருகின்றான். நமோ ரமண.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. This is a song in praise of Bhagavan Ramana by Swami Shuddhananda Bharati. வாழ்க ஸ்வயம் பிரகாசம் வாழ்க வாழ்கவே, சூழ்க சுத்தாத்ம சக்தி சூழ்க சூழ்கவே. வாழ்க ஸ்வயம் பிரகாசம் வாழ்க வாழ்கவே, சூழ்க சுத்தாத்ம சக்தி சூழ்க சூழ்கவே. ஏழுலகும் ஜீவன் முக்தி இன்பம் பொங்கவே, ஏழுலகும் ஜீவன் முக்தி இன்பம் பொங்கவே. இதயமாகும் இறைவனாகி எல்லாம் ஓங்கவே, இதயமாகும் இறைவனாகி எல்லாம் ஓங்கவே. பாழ்வன அகந்தை வாழ்வ பாழ்பட்டொழியவே, பாழ்மன அகந்தை வாழ்வு பாழ்பட்டொழியவே. பரம சச்சிதானந்தாத்ம பாழ் பொழியவே, பரம சச்சிதானந்தாத்ம பாழ் பொழியவே. வாழ்க ஸ்வயம் பிரகாசம் வாழ்க வாழ்கவே, சூழ்க சுத்தாத்ம சக்தி சூழ்க சூழ்கவே. தட்டிலாத நித்ய ஜீவ தத்துவமோங்கவே, தட்டிலாத நித்ய ஜீவ தத்துவமோங்கவே. தன்மயத்தில் சின்மயந்தளை திலங்கவே, தன்மயத்தில் சின்மயந்தளை திலங்கவே. எட்டு திக்கு ஹம்ச சோகம் எதிரொலிக்கவே, எட்டு திக்கும் ஹம்ச சோகம் எதிரொலிக்கவே. எல்லாம் பிரம்மம் என்னும் உண்மை இறை வகிக்கவே, எல்லாம் பிரம்மம் என்னும் உண்மை இறை வகிக்கவே. வாழ்க ஸ்வயம் பிரகாசம் வாழ்க வாழ்கவே, சூழ்க சுத்தாத்ம சக்தி சூழ்க சூழ்கவே. வாழ்க ஸ்வயம் பிரகாசம் வாழ்க வாழ்கவே, சூழ்க சுத்தாத்ம சக்தி சூழ்க சூழ்கவே. சூழ்க சூழ்கவே, சூழ்க சூழ்கவே. நமோ ரமண.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Today is Pradosham, a day dear to Lord Shiva as well as devotees of Lord Shiva. It is during this Kala, the Pradosha Kala, around this time, on the Pradosha day, that the great Lord consumed the Hala Hala to protect the universe. It is on this day that the Lord, in a celestial dance, performs on the forehead of Nandi between the horns of Nandi, a spectacle witnessed by all the Devas, led by Lord Brahma and Mahavishnu, along with their consorts Saraswati and Mahalakshmi respectively, host of all Devas and all the Shivaganas. Sri Murugana has composed a decade of verses called Vendar Padigam to be chanted on the Pradosha day during the Pradosha Kala. We chant the first two verses of the Vendar Padigam. The English translation reads thus: Let me look at your compassionate face, and let my mind be filled with bliss, and let my head be crowned with your twin golden feet, till it turns golden too. Let me, among your devotees, rejoice as we speak and hear about your might and majesty. Great Venkata, whatever births I take, let this good luck be mine. When I call you eagerly, let your gracious answer be not afraid. Let me in yoga earn for you, and you with me be utterly one without a second. Let my cruel mind think daily only of your power of grace. Father, Mother, Venkata, Lord of Dharma, let me flourish in the shadow of your feet.
அழைக்க வேண்டும் நானாவதாய் உனை அஞ்சலென்றனக்கு அருள வேண்டு நீ இழைக்க வேண்டு நான் யோகமென்னுளத்து இருமையற்ற நோடு இசைய வேண்டு நீ உழைக்க வேண்டு நான் கொடுமனத்தை நின் அருள் குணத்தீரம் குறித்து நாடோறும் தழைக்க வேண்டு நான் தானிய கணே தருமவே கட்ட தந்தை தாயனே காண வேண்டு நின் கருணையார் முகம் கடிக்க வேண்டுமின் கருத்து மூற்றுற போன வேண்டு நின் பொன்னடி துணை பொலிக வேண்டுமென் சென்னி போர் மான வேண்டுமை அடியர் மாட்டு நின் அன்பு பேச்சியும் செவி மடத்து நான் பேண வேண்டுமே பிறவி மேவினும் பெருமவே கட்ட வண்ண பேற்றியே தருமவே கட்ட தந்தை தாயனே. ஓம் நமோ பகவதே ஸ்ரீ ரமணாய.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Bhagwan was born to Sundaram Iyer and Alagammal. Sundaram means beauty and Alagu means beauty in Tamil. So, and this couple gave birth to a beautiful child, Venkataraman. And this child gave us so many beautiful things. Once he attained the ultimate state when he was 16 years at Madurai. He is the one who is praised by all the Vedas. He is that beauty which is shining at the peak of all the Vedas. He has no beginning or end. He is the Adi Antya Illada Arunachala Linga. He is the one which has no limit at all. He takes away all our sorrows and he brings us away out from the Bhavasagara which we are all stuck in. And Whoever surrenders to him, he blesses that beauty which he has within him. He makes us realize that that beauty is within us. He is the Purna Vastu. He is the Ananda Vastu. He is Ramana Cheluvu. Presenting to you a song written by Muruganar Swami. This is the Kannada translation, which is by Dr. N.S. Lakshminarayan Bhatta, M. Rangarao's music. ನಾದ ಬಿಂದು ಕಲಾತೀತಯನಿಸಿದಂಥ ಚೆಲುವು ವೇದ ರಾಶಿ ವರ್ಣಿಸಿದ ತುತ್ತ ತುದಿಯ ಚೆಲುವು ನಾದ ಬಿಂದು ಕಲಾತೀತಯನಿಸಿದಂಥ ಚೆಲುವು ವೇದ ರಾಶಿ ವರ್ಣಿಸಿದ ತುತ್ತ ತುದಿಯ ಚೆಲುವು ಮೊದಲಿಲ್ಲದ ತುದಿಯಿಲ್ಲದ ಆನಂದದ ಚೆಲುವು ಮೊದಲಿಲ್ಲದ ತುದಿಯಿಲ್ಲದ ಆನಂದದ ಚೆಲುವು ಮೇರೆ ಮೀರಿ ಹರಿಯಲದೆ ಶ್ರೀರಮಣನ ಚೆಲುವು ಮೇರೆ ಮೀರಿ ಹರಿಯಲದೆ ಶ್ರೀರಮಣನ ಚೆಲುವು ನಾದ ಬಿಂದು ಕಲಾತೀತ ಎನಿಸಿದಂಥ ಚೆಲುವು ವೇದ ರಾಶಿ ವರ್ಣಿಸಿದ ತುತ್ತ ತುದಿಯ ಚೆಲುವು ಭವಾವಳಿಯ ಕಡಲ ನಳೆವ ಸೇತುವೆಯ ಚೆಲುವು ಭವಾವಳಿಯ ಕಡಲ ನಳೆವ ಸೇತುವೆಯ ಚೆಲುವು ಬಾಗಿದ ಭಕ್ತರ ಬಾಳನು ಬೆಂಬಲಿಸುವ ಚೆಲುವು ಬಾಗಿದ ಭಕ್ತರ ಬಾಳನು ಬೆಂಬಲಿಸುವ ಚೆಲುವು ನಾದ ಬಿಂದು ಕಲಾತೀತ ಎನಿಸಿದಂಥ ಚೆಲುವು ವೇದ ರಾಶಿ ವರ್ಣಿಸಿದ ತುತ್ತ ತುದಿಯ ಚೆಲುವು ಕಾಣ್ಕೆಯ ಗಡಿಯಾಚೆ ತುಂಬಿ ನಿಂತ ಪೂರ್ಣ ಚೆಲುವು ಕಾಣ್ಕೆಯ ಗಡಿಯಾಚೆ ತುಂಬಿ ನಿಂತ ಪೂರ್ಣ ಚೆಲುವು ತುಂಬಿ ತುಳುಕು ಆನಂದದ ಶ್ರೀರಮಣನ ಚೆಲುವು ತುಂಬಿ ತುಳುಕು ಆನಂದದ ಶ್ರೀರಮಣನ ಚೆಲುವು ನಾದ ಬಿಂದು ಕಲಾತೀತ ಎನಿಸಿದಂಥ ಚೆಲುವು ವೇದ ರಾಶಿ ವರ್ಣಿಸಿದ ತುತ್ತ ತುದಿಯ ಚೆಲುವು ನಾದ ಬಿಂದು ಕಲಾತೀತ ಎನಿಸಿದಂಥ ಚೆಲುವು ವೇದ ರಾಶಿ ವರ್ಣಿಸಿದ ತುತ್ತ ತುದಿಯ ಚೆಲುವು ವೇದ ರಾಶಿ ವರ್ಣಿಸಿದ ತುತ್ತ ತುದಿಯ ಚೆಲುವು ವೇದ ರಾಶಿ ವರ್ಣಿಸಿದ ತುತ್ತ ತುದಿಯ ಚೆಲುವು. ನಮೋ ರಮಣ.
Namo Ramana. In this, the book reading segment of our satsang, we have been reading from the book Ramana's Muruganar, a birth centenary celebration, a compilation by our founder president, Sri A.R. Natarajanji. We are reading the account of Sadhuvam Swamigal, where he calls Muruganar as the right hand of Bhagavan Sri Ramana. The last reading we saw how he calls him as the right hand, and we have been reading the verses of Ramana Jnana Bodham. We continue. Though in each verse of this work, that is Sri Ramana Jnana Bodham, Sri Muruganar clearly reveals the nature of the experience of self-knowledge which he had attained by the grace of Sri Bhagavan. Let us see here a few selected verses. I, who was possessed of a base, deceptive mind, have attained the real state by the grace of the Divine Master who enslaved me by knowledge. When these are the verses of Sri Ramana Jnana Bodham. When the troublesome ego which arose as the interweaving of Chit and Jada was severed by the sharp sword of his gracious eyes, I saw the undivided pure nature of Brahman by the grace of my Lord, who has taken me as his slave. My Lord has established me in his feet, the glory of which cannot be thought of by the mind. The silence of self-experience which surged forth when the enthusiastically racing ego was destroyed has filled my heart, having blossomed as bliss. By the grace of the Lord, who without cause bestowed the beauty of the descent of grace upon me, who lacked any worthiness, the auspicious experience of silence, the knowledge which is liberation, surged in the heart, devoid of the confusion of the intellect. Since the false, body-mixed consciousness called I has died due to love for the Swarupa of the Jnana Guru, I have become bereft of even the least Dhina Bhava, sense of helplessness, distress, and I have blossomed as the proud and blissful life of pure space of grace. Having egotistically identified the filthy body as I had slipped down into a desolate waste. Having been awakened by him, who is the pure, gracious, divine knowledge, I have attained the supreme life of silent, natural consciousness, and I am flourishing as the perfectly pure self. Since by the grace of my Guru Murti, his glance of grace, the silence of the Supreme Truth shone for me as all the four aims of human life, namely Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. And since, therefore, nothing further remained for me to make any effort to achieve, as all the four aims have been completed, in a fraction of a moment, I subsided in the heart. Muruganar is providing us various directions from which we will invariably have to come to subsidence and abidance in the self. He is providing us a kavacha, an environment in which we cannot miss coming to the self, which is the glory of Bhagavan's grace. By the light of the fully blossomed glance of his grace, he made me, the fool, flourish to live as Buddha, a knower of the reality. The impurities of my mind having been destroyed, I live devoid of bondage, having merged in the state of the self, the blazing light of reality. In front of the sovereign of pure grace, who asked me, who stood before him, who are you? Who are you? The ego delusion slipped away for me through the enquiry, who am I? So immediately when the Guru asks, who are you? We pursue, who am I? And hence my reality shone forth in the heart. Having clearly realized that the light of existence consciousness alone is the heart. By the blemishless silent meditation in the pure heart, which is devoid of thought, I became eyeless. I became the eyeless eye, the perfectly whole reality. Since the confusion of diversity created by the ego ghost slipped away, as soon as I came in front of the sacred Lord, who is the fullness of knowledge and grace, the great life of the bliss of Shiva, the silence, which is the supreme existence consciousness, has been wonderfully attained by me in the heart. Since the villainous mind has been destroyed, disappearing from sight in the presence of the Lord, who is the self which shines as the light in the heart, I am playing, immersed in the flood of bliss, which is devoid of even an iota of misery. The state of total surrender of his mind, speech, and body to Sri Bhagavan is described humorously by Sri Muruganar as follows. Some people could come to the self through humor. There also the kavacham is provided. Having written that from today I am your slave forever, having written that from today I am your slave forever, my heart itself being the clear single document, I could not find the one who was to sign, I have consented. So to even write his consent in the slavery document, there was no ego. Just like Bhagavan could not write his name at the end of the letter when he left Madurai for Tiruvannamalai. Sri Muruganar expresses his great attainment not only in countless verses addressed to the people of the world, but also in many verses addressed to Sri Bhagavan. Such verses declaring his attainment in the presence of Sri Bhagavan serve as final assurance to induce belief even in the minds of those who are hesitant to believe him. So, in presence of Bhagavan itself, he is saying, I have attained, and Bhagavan is not denying. So, implicitly, the devotees get the assurance from Bhagavan. All these verses coming to us are from the great enlightened master that Muruganar is. O Lord, so he continues with the verses addressed to Bhagavan and implicitly Bhagavan's stamp of approval. O Lord, who are my Father, due to your gracious consent, I live in the imperishable, pure, divine Bhuma, the infinite reality. By the eternal experience of self-knowledge, the ego I has been destroyed, becoming non-existent. Approved, says Bhagavan. The frenzied ego rising, having been destroyed, the idea that you, Bhagavan, and I are different, having perished. O Lord of the gods, I attained silence in your feet, a state of consciousness, and thus I became free of fatigue. O Swarupa, who shine as the nature of silent bliss, I do not say anything as mere flattery. The supreme state of blissful peace which you have given me, is not something that can be expressed. So these are not even an attempt to express it properly, and definitely not flattery, says Muruganar, describing his wonder at the feet, at the fact that he can do nothing in return for the great boon bestowed upon him by Sri Bhagavan. Sri Muruganar sings, Kaimar, what Kaimar I can give, what can be the Guru Dakshina I can give, being graciously seated in my heart as mother and father. You have given me in this very birth the supreme life of non-dual consciousness, the sublime and pure state of Shiva, by means of the clarity of the bestowal of grace, the silence which is the nature of the self. What can I do in return for this? I'll read that again. Being graciously seated in my heart as mother and father, you have given me in this very birth the supreme life of non-dual consciousness, the sublime and pure state of Shiva, by means of the clarity of the bestowal of grace, the silence which is the nature of the self. What can I do in return for this, O Bhagavan, says Muruganar Swamigal. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jnanamulam Gurur Murti, Pujamulam Gurur Padam, Mantramulam Gurur Vakyam, Mokshamulam Gurur Kripaha. Mokshamulam Gurur Kripaha. During Manana, I just picked up one of the Guru Vacha Kovai, and let's do Manana on that and then do self-enquiry. The world seems to exist, but actually does not. The world seems to exist, but actually does not, shining in a subtle way in the background, as if it does not exist, is consciousness. Shining in a subtle way in the background, as if it does not exist, is consciousness, the reality. Jnanis say that completely abandoning the world as non existent, even while it exists, is attaining the state of the self, the reality. So, Jnanis, what do they say? Completely abandoning the world as non existent, even while it exists, is attaining the state of the self, the reality. So, we see the world. When you see the world, what do we see? We see the world as thoughts in our mind. It's coming in the mind through the senses. Senses actually is part of the mind, and the mind is finally, we know, it's made up of thoughts. So if you inquire into the thought, then what happens? That's what self-inquiry is about. When you inquire into the nature of the thoughts, the thoughts actually initially, which are running very fast, become slower and slower, and then the intensity of those thoughts also start reducing and reducing. When they start reducing, what do the Jnani say? He says that the completely abandoning the world as non-existent. When these thoughts become quiet, then it's like abandoning the world as non-existent. Even when it exists, it is attaining the state of the self, the reality. Then we are being with the self. So now that we have heard Nandakumar also, we have now practice is very important. So let's do practice now for the next 10 minutes. I request Ujwal to kindly time it, if you don't mind. Thank you. So whenever a thought comes, ask, for whom is this thought? For me, who am I? So it doesn't matter how many thoughts come, every thought that comes, inquire.
नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
Namo Ramana. Thank you.
Namo Ramana. We continue the satsang with the meditation on the words written by Ganapati Muni adoring Bhagavan Ramana. These 40 verses in adoration of Ramana has been titled Ramanacentre by Ramana himself, and these 40 verses beautifully describe the stature and beauty of Bhagavan Ramana, who is a great jnani. We are meditating on the 36th verse, where Ganapati Muni sings, Ramanam Gurum Namami, Ramanam Gurum Namami, Ramanam Gurum Namami, Ramanam Gurum Namami, Vishadahasite Purna Shanti Sudhakara Sodhare, Stira Prutulayo Purna Shakti Drishoratulaarchisho, Hridaya Kamale Nityanishta Bahischa Sarat Prabhe, Ramana Bhagavan Kova Moni Samastava Bhutale, Ramanam Gurum Namami, Ramanam Gurum Namami, Ramanam Gurum Namami. Hunnimeya Chandirana Kanneduru Taruva, ನಿನ್ನ ಮುಖಮಂಡಲವು ಸುರಿಸುತ್ತಿದೆ ಮಧುವ, ಹುಣ್ಣಿಮೆಯ ಚಂದಿರನ ಕಣ್ಣೆದುರು ತರುವ, ನಿನ್ನ ಮುಖಮಂಡಲವು ಸುರಿಸುತ್ತಿದೆ ಮಧುವ, ಜ್ಯೋತಿನಯನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಚಿಮ್ಮುತ್ತಿದೆ ಕರುಣೆ, ಜ್ಯೋತಿನಯನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಚಿಮ್ಮುತ್ತಿದೆ ಕರುಣೆ, ಹೊಮ್ಮುತ್ತಿದೆ ಎಲ್ಲರನು ಸಲಹುವ ಮಹಿಮೆ. ಬಂದೆನೋ ನಿನ್ನ ಬಳಿ ನೊಂದು ರಮಣ, ಭವದ ಕತ್ತಲೆ ಹರಿಸೋ ದಿವ್ಯ ಚರಣ, ಬಂದೆನೋ Ganapati Muni says, he is speaking about the beautiful smile of Bhagavan Ramana, Vishada Hasite, and that smile is filled with peace, and which is not just peace, Purna Shanti. It is full of peace, it is complete with peace, and he is like the moon which was created during the Samudra Mantana, when the ocean was churned. And here says, which ocean was it churned? It was the ocean of nectar. We have heard that it is the Milky Ocean, but that Milky Ocean had the nectar in it. So it was the ocean of nectar which was churned to get the nectar out of it, just like the butter coming out of the buttermilk. So it was being churned by the positive and the negative forces. And when this churning happens, the mind arises. And the mind is represented by moon. But what kind of mind is it? The Ramana's smile is that mind which is filled with Shanti. Not the usual mind that we know of, which is always filled with conflicts and turmoils and all these fears and anxieties. But that mind which is like the full moon, Hunnimaya Chandirana. Just like how the Hunnimaya Chandra is the full moon is full and complete. In that way, the mind of those who have seen the smile of Ramana, their mind is filled with peace. And how is this possible? In Ramana's presence, in his Sannidhi, an old lady came and she told all about her problems. And Ramana smiled at that old lady and told, "You told you have all these problems, but does all these problems exist in your deep sleep?" And the lady answered, "No, Swami. When I'm awake, I'm really worried about these problems, but when I go to sleep, I'm filled with peace. But next day morning, as soon as I wake up, all the problems appear again, and I am filled with sorrow." And Ramana reminded that old lady, "Oh, Amma, that which comes and goes cannot be your true nature. So these problems which appear during the day and vanish during the deep sleep, they are not your true nature. So why are you worrying about that which comes and goes? Instead, pay attention to that power, that peace which is always there. That is your true nature." So he gave this Upadesha, and that old lady was satisfied and consoled, and she went back. Listening to this, it is told that the devotees around, some people say it was Ganapati Muni himself, who asked Bhagwan, "Oh Bhagwan, what will that old lady understand about this high tattva of the Atma being whose nature is peace, and that our own true nature is peace, and the problems which we see is only the illusion which comes and goes? What will that old ignorant lady understand?" He would have simply told her, "Keep chanting the name of the God," or something like that, and sent her away. And Ramana reminded Nayana, "Oh Nayana, this is my experience. I can only speak about my experience. If she had come to you, then you would have had the freedom to give her that Upadesha of chanting the name of the God. But my experience is I did not chant any name of the God, and I did not do anything. I only understood that truth which is always there, and that's the only solution for all the problems." And Ramana gave an example to this. Why is this self-enquiry, to getting back to our own true nature, which is peace, that alone is the solution for all the problems? In a room, imagine there are two people, and one person is reading and doing some work, and the other person in the room is fast asleep. In the sleep, that person has a dream where a robber has entered his house, and he is stealing all the precious items in his house, and he is running away. And this person who is sleeping, who is dreaming about this robber who is taking away all the precious things, he screams. Why? As he's asleep, he screams, "Oh, all my money is being stolen. Please call the police," and run behind this robber. And he is screaming this in his dream. And what will that person who is sitting and reading, who is awake, what will he do? Will he run behind the thief, the dream thief? Or will he call the police to catch the dream thief? What will he do? The obvious answer is that one who is awake will only try to wake up that person who is dreaming and say, wake up, wake up. There is nothing, there is no thief. Nobody has taken nothing. So you don't have to worry about it. It was only a dream. So that is the only Upadesha or the instruction which that friend who is awake, he will tell. So a Jnani who is awake, for those who are dreaming of all these illusions and having these dream problems, what will the Jnani ever say? Will he give solutions for those dream problems? The Jnani can only wake them up. So that is the only answer to get back to our own true nature. But we are so much caught up in that illusion. We are not having a nightmare yet. We are enjoying the dream because it's a beautiful dream of this life that we have got. So we are enjoying this dream. So when we report this, that we are so happy and we are so thankful for all the gifts that Bhagavan has given, he is smiling. And he, with his Purna Shanti, he is waiting for us to get back. And he is smiling and nodding his head with all the joy that we are sharing with Bhagavan. When we go with problems to Bhagavan, again he is smiling, reminding us that all these problems are not your true nature. It comes and goes, so you don't have to worry at all. So he is ever smiling, and that smile is ever full. It is not a smile which comes and goes. Shardaka always reminds the story during Ramana Aradhana that when Ramana in his last few days, when he was in great pain, his left arm had been operated for a very, very cancerous flesh, which was sarcoma. And during that time also, Ramana was full of beaming smile. There was this little girl called Chandralekha who later became a very famous dancer. And this girl was very, very suspicious. Why this man who is here, he seems to be in so much of pain, but he is smiling. Maybe he is only acting. Let me see him intently for all the days I am going to be here, and sometime or the other I am sure his true face will come. So that girl was waiting and intently seeing Ramana for all those 3 days. She was there in the ashram, and she did not find even one moment where she could feel that Ramana frowned. He was ever smiling, even through that pain. And by this, he is revealing that we can always be happy. And we are full of Shanti. We can always be smiling like Ramana. Because even the problem, the greatest of problem which we are holding on to is this body and all the troubles which comes with this body. When we don't identify ourselves with this body, when we understand that we are not this body, and we drop this notion that I am the body, then we become free from all the problems this body is suffering. Similarly with the mind and the intellect and all the false notion that we are holding on to, when all these false notions are dropped, we become Ramana. We become Arunachala Ramana, who is shining in the heart of every being as I. When we become that Ramana, then our lives is filled with joy and there is no sorrow. We become like Ramana, full of Shanti and ever smiling. And when I started learning dance and started performing dance, my first dance teacher, Srimati Leelavati Upadhyaya and Sri Nagaraj Upadhyaya sir, the only instruction they used to give to all the students, including me, was while dancing, smile and dance, smile and dance. Smile and dance, enjoy the dance that you are doing. And I later in my life, Ramana made me understand that this is the essence of Ramana's teaching, that to smile. Smile because Happiness is our own true nature. Peace is our own true nature. When we are frowning, we are holding on to that which is not our nature. But Ramana, with his beaming smile, is reminding us to get back to our own true nature, which is so full of peace and so full of love. To remind us, Ramana has come into our lives and he is teaching this with his compassionate glance. And that glance, Ganapati Muni says, that glance is full of Shakti. That glance is full of power, which is unequaled. And just by his glance, he is teaching this truth. He is drawing all the devotees towards him. And with his smile, with his silence, he is teaching us that our own true nature is peace. And Ramana has come to teach us this truth. And we salute Ramana and remember his teaching of getting back to our own true nature, which is full peace. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. We continue the satsang by a sharing by Sri Venkatesh Deshpande ji.
Namo Ramana. We are doing Manana on Atmabodha. In the last session, we did Manana on verse number 38. We'll do a quick recap of that. Seated in a solitary place, free from desires and with senses controlled, one should meditate on that infinite Atman without any other thought. After preparing yourself for discovering the Atman through the process of negation, that's neti neti, and assertion, the actual procedure in meditation is given here. Atman is the innermost core of your personality, lying beyond your matter vestures. To reach it, you must delve deeper into your personality by consciously withdrawing your attention from all the material layers. The words and expressions herein are appropriately chosen to describe the procedure in meditation. So he says that, firstly, the choice of a solitary place for meditation suggests a means of avoidance of disturbances caused by the external world. Solitude in the context does not mean retirement to a place far away from human habitation. It only implies a choice of environment which is relatively free. Having found a solitary place, you are advised to be seated. Your body should be made to relax by maintaining a proper posture. After withdrawing from the disturbances emanating from the external world and the physical body, you must then tackle the next disturbance which emanates in the mind. Even when you sit in a quiet place for meditation, your mind may run into various fields of sensuality. This disturbance caused by the mind is to be overcome by consciously exercising control. The last of the impediments is the desires arising in the intellect. These desires can be appeased by directing your intellect to the contemplation on the Atman. When the intellect is established in the Atman, the desires pertaining to the terrestrial world gets dissolved. So let's now do Manana on the verse number 39. And I request Sapna to kindly chant the verse, please.
Yes, sir. आत्मन्येवाखिलं दृश्यं प्रविलाप्य धिया सुधिः भावयेदेकात्मात्मानं निर्मलाकाशवत्सदा आत्मन्येवाखिलं दृश्यं प्रविलाप्य धिया सुधिः भावयेदेकमात्मानं निर्मलाकाशवत्सदा. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sapna. Having intelligently dissolved the entire objective world in the Atman alone, the wise one should constantly meditate upon that one Atman as the stainless sky. The human intellect is of two kinds, the gross and the subtle. The gross intellect exercises its discrimination and judgment in the field of the objective world, comprising all perceptions, emotions, and thoughts. The subtle intellect discriminates the Atman from the objective world. The unwise spend their entire lifetime using only the gross intellect for the acquisition and enjoyment of the objects of the world. Very important. The unwise spend their entire lifetime using only the gross intellect for the acquisition and enjoyment of the objects of the world. In so doing, they get entangled and lost in the mire of worldly things and beings and suffer the sorrows thereof. You are advised to act wisely and to employ the subtle intellect to withdraw your preoccupation with the pluralistic phenomena and contemplate on the supreme self within. The pluralistic world is a false superimposition upon the Atman. Like Swami Shivananda says, Brahman is the only real entity, Mr. So and so is a false non-entity. So that's what he's saying. Saying that the pluralistic world is a false superimposition upon the Atman. The Atman alone exists. The world that you experience is nothing but the Atman. The pluralistic phenomena are an illusion projected upon the Atman, just as an illusory snake is projected upon a rope. The substratum alone is real. Anything superimposed upon it is unreal. The unreal is, in a sense, is not different from the real. Through such reasoning, the wise should discriminate and realize that the world does not exist apart from the Atman. The Atman is compared to the stainless sky. The sky accommodates everything in it without itself being contaminated by anything. So too, the Atman activates your equipments to produce perceptions, emotions, and thoughts, but the latter does not pollute the Atman. So, for a modern example, the Atman is like the light in a projector, which causes manifold projections on the screen, but remains unaffected by them. The intelligent one maintains a constant vision of the light, even as he sees the pluralistic phenomena appearing on the screen. Similarly, a wise man with subtle discrimination is in perfect attunement with the Atman in and through his experiences of the pluralistic world. So beautifully said in this that the there are two things about the human intellect. One is the subtle and one is the gross. And all the time what happens? Because of our vasanas, because of our tendencies, what happens? We only use the gross intellect and keep on looking outwards and looking at the world and looking at things, trying to acquire this, acquire that. And then we forget that there's something at the back. So we don't use the subtle intellect at all. So it says if you go and if you use the subtle intellect, this pluralistic thing, this phenomena that you're seeing goes away. It's like a child. You know, a child when you're playing with a child, what happens? It is interested in what's happening now, and it does. And when it's finished, it'll go to the next thing. Then it'll go to the next thing. It's not going to say it doesn't remember the first thing when it's on the third thing. Its concentration is on the third. So important thing is the same thing Bhagavan is trying to say. The more and more we do this, what happens is similarly a wise man with subtle discrimination is in perfect attunement with Atman. He's always with the Atman. Atmanishto bhavatvam, and through this experiences of and through his experiences of the pluralistic world. So he knows that this is just like what somebody said earlier. Well, it is like something which comes and something which goes. Something which comes and something which goes. I think it was Nandakumar. And what does it matter? If something which comes and something which goes, it doesn't matter. Let it come and let it go. Only what remains is the Atman. We need to be always with the Atman. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. Thank you, Jaisri.
Thank you.
We continue the satsang with the chanting of a few verses from Aksharamanamalai by Srimati V. Radha. This will be followed by the Ashtottara puja to Bhagavan. The chanting of the Ashtottara will be done by Vaibhavji and Prarthana, and the puja will be conducted here at the Ramana Maharshi Heritage Campus Meditation Hall.
Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala, தேடாதுற்றன திருவருணிதியகத்தியக்கம் தீர்த்தருள் அருணாச்சலம் தைரியமோடும் உண்மையக நாடயம் தட்டழிந்தேன் அருள் அருணாச்சலம் தொட்டருட்கைமை கட்டிடாயனிலிய நட்டமாவேன் அருள் அருணாச்சலம் தோடமில் நீயகத்தோடொன்று என்றும் சந்தோடம் ஒன்றிட அருள் அருணாச்சலம் நகைக்கிடமில்லை நின் நாடியனை அருள் நகையிட்டு பாரி அருணாச்சலம் நாணிலை நாடிட நானாயொன்றினி தாணுவா நின்றனை அருணாச்சலம் நின்னெறி எரித்தென்னை நீராக்கிடும் உன் நின்னருள் மழை பொழி அருணாச்சலம் நீனானர புலினி தங்களி மயமா நின்றிட நிலையருள் அருணாச்சலம் நுண்ணுரு உன்னையான் விண்ணுரு நன்னிட எண்ணலையிரும் என்றருணாச்சலம் நூலறிவறியா பேதையன் என்றன் மாலறிவருத்தருள் அருணாச்சலம் நெக்கு நெக்குருகியான் புக்கிட உன்னை புகழ் நக்க நான் நின்றனை அருணாச்சலம் நேசமில் எனக்கு உன் ஆசையை காட்டி நீ மோசம் செய்யாதருள் அருணாச்சலம் அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா 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 அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சலம் வாழி அன்பர்களும் வாழி அக்ஷரமணமாலை வாழி நமோ ரமண
रमणा भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तर शतनामावलिः अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशे यस्योर्मिमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि ॐ महासेन मुहुंसेन जाताय नमः ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः ॐ गुरवे नमः ॐ अखण्ड संविदाकाराय नमः ॐ महोदयसे नमः ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः ॐ जगद्धितावताराय नमः ॐ ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोत्थिताय नमः। ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः। ॐ सुन्दराय तपःफलाय नमः। ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः। ॐ सहायाम्बसहायवते नमः। ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः। ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः। ॐ श्रीमद्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः। ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः। ॐ परमार्थविधे नमः। ॐ तीव्राय नमः। ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः। ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः। ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः। ॐ तपोमयाय नमः। ॐ उदासीनाय नमः। ॐ महायोगिने नमः। ॐ नमो स्वाहाय नमः। ॐ कुशाग्रदिये नमः। ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः। ॐ सुसदृशे नमः। ॐ सवित्रे नमः। ॐ स्थिराय नमः। ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः। ॐ जलाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः। ॐ चन्द्रिकासतहास श्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः। ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः। ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः। ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः। ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः। ॐ विराजितचलाकृतये नमः। ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ विरचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्यनिभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः। ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्रीषोणाचलरिद्बोधस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सरदर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्नसंशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानामाराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आप्तायामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ ऋचान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्वर्णाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ त्वन्तस्तिमिरचण्डां शवे नमः। ॐ संसाराणवतारकाय नमः। ॐ नादृशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमण भगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनाम पूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थानोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्याजनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रह सुप्रवाह विवशा तादात्म्य भावं गतः ऋन्निष्ठस्वगभीर नित्यतपसा लोकान् विनाशेकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तर ज्योतिषे। ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि दर्शन सुख मंगल मुख सकल जीवहित सम्मुख ब्रह्म संगिये सदा तुष्ट सदा हृष्ट सदा शिवानंद पुष्ट परम महर्षि ब्रह्मनिष्ठ समदर्शी नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावर्ण नमो महर्षि ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತಿಯೇ ಅದರ ಜಾಡು ಇದವನರಿತು ನೀಡುತ್ತೆಮ್ಮ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಹಿತವ ನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಗಿಯೇ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರ್ಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ नमो महर्षि। जय बोलो भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की जय।
Thank you, Ujwal. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you, Pratibha.
Namo Ramana.